I didn't notice it at first. When we began dating, small surprises felt normal. Dinner, a weekend away, thoughtful gifts. I liked doing things for her. I liked watching her smile. After a while, the favors changed. A one-time loan became another. A small trip turned into an expensive getaway. She talked about helping family the way people talk about chores, necessary and brief. Her mother needed help with a bill. Her sister's car broke down. I paid, because I thought it was what partners did. Then strangers started messaging me. Relatives I had never met sent direct requests. The tone shifted from polite to expectant. A cousin shared photos of a new kitchen and joked that someone should finish the payment. A family friend asked if I could front a deposit. The asks came casually. I felt uneasy. One evening, she described a future that left me out. "We should live somewhere nicer," she said, matter of fact. "My family deserves better." She sketched renovations and designer pieces like plans I should accept. I tried to talk about savings, but she brushed it aside. A few days later, I found a list on her phone. It was a ledger. Names, dates, amounts. Little notes. Cover, temporary, will pay back. My name did not appear as someone whose welfare mattered. The ledger wasn't about emergencies. It was a roadmap for a lifestyle I didn't share. I asked for a conversation. I wanted to understand. She offered excuses, misunderstandings, loans repaid, promises to fix things. But the calls kept coming. Her family reached out directly. Each request assumed I would say yes. I set limits. I stopped answering unknown numbers. I declined large asks. I took steps that felt necessary. Separate accounts, new passwords, a tighter budget. Her reaction was immediate. The easy smile thinned. She began to stay out later. Invitations to family events dwindled. People who had been warm became distant. Those changes made something clear. When I provided, I was a resource. When I withheld, I was ignored. It hurt in the way plans were made without consulting me and in the casual expectation that I would cover the gap between appearance and reality. I had offered trust and steadiness. In return, I found a pattern of taking. I began to document everything. Messages, receipts, bank notes. Each file felt like laying a foundation beneath a shaky house. I told myself I was protecting our future. I didn't want drama. I wanted boundaries that were respected. Still, a part of me wanted consequences. I wanted them to learn there were limits. Not out of spite, but as a lesson on respect. That ember changed my perspective. I stopped being reactive. I stopped trying to fix things that were not mine to fix. I took back quiet parts of my life. An account she no longer had access to, a list of recurring payments I canceled, and evenings I reclaimed for myself. Small actions shifted the balance. The first real crack appeared at her cousin's engagement party. I had paid for the venue deposit weeks earlier because she said her family was a little tight that month. I didn't complain. I liked helping, and honestly, I wanted to be seen as dependable. But that night, as her uncle gave a speech thanking her family for their generosity, my name never came up. Everyone clapped and raised glasses to them. I stood there, holding mine, pretending to smile. Later, her mother approached me. "You have a good heart," she said, patting my arm. "You'll do well taking care of our girl and this family." That phrasing stuck with me, this family. It wasn't about a relationship anymore. It was about me being a provider for a group of people who'd mistaken kindness for obligation. Over the next few weeks, I tested something. I stopped volunteering to help. When she mentioned a new trip her parents wanted to take, I just nodded and said, "Sounds nice." No offer, no wallet. At first, she laughed it off. Then she asked directly, "Could you spot them a little? They'll pay you back." I replied, "They still owe me for the engagement party, remember?" Her silence was louder than any argument. That was the moment I realized she never planned on paying anything back. It was never about temporary help. It was about seeing how far I'd go before saying no. After that, things turned cold. I stopped being the amazing guy her family adored. Suddenly, I was stingy, inconsiderate, difficult. Small digs appeared in conversations. "You've changed," she said once, her tone half accusing. "You used to be generous." I hadn't changed. I'd just stopped being used. Then came the breaking point. One evening, she told me her father had found an investment opportunity and needed a quick transfer. "Just to show good faith," she said. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I asked for details. "What kind of investment?" "Just a business thing," she said, avoiding eye contact. "He doesn't want to talk about it right now, but it'll double fast." Trust me. That phrase, "trust me," had become her favorite way to end uncomfortable conversations. I decided to play along, but quietly. I told her I'd think about it, and over the next few days, I called her father directly. He didn't answer. Then I reached out to a mutual friend who worked in local finance circles. He called back laughing. "Man, that investment isn't a business. It's a family-run resale scheme that already went bankrupt last year." That call flipped a switch in me. All the doubts, excuses, and hesitation vanished. I wasn't just being used. I was being groomed to bankroll a scam wrapped in affection. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't accuse her. I simply told her, "I'll take care of the transfer tomorrow." She smiled, relieved. "I knew you'd come through." But instead of transferring money, I visited my bank first thing in the morning. I moved every cent into a new account. I closed the joint savings account we had opened together and redirected every payment and credit card to my name only. By the time she noticed, she couldn't access a dollar. Later that evening, she called, furious. "Where did all the money go?" "To my account," I said calmly. "The one I should have kept from the start." Her voice cracked. "You can't just—" "I can," I said, cutting her off. And I did. It was the first time I felt peace in months. No shouting, just boundaries, finally real ones. Still, that wasn't the end. Her family wasn't used to hearing no, and when they realized the money flow stopped, they started showing their true faces. The messages turned into guilt trips. The guilt trips turned into threats. Within a week, her family group chat, yes, the one they insisted I join, was flooded with half-baked accusations. "You embarrassed us. We trusted you. You promised to help." I ignored every message. When the guilt didn't work, they switched tactics. Suddenly, I was the villain who had taken advantage of their daughter. She showed up at my place 2 nights later, angry and shaking. "You made me look stupid in front of my family," she said, pacing the room. "I didn't do anything," I replied. "I just stopped paying for your family's lifestyle." She threw her hands up. "You don't understand. Things are complicated. My dad needed that money for business, and now everyone's upset with me." I kept my tone even. "Because I stopped giving you what they expected." That's when she said something that made everything click. "You were supposed to take care of us. Isn't that what love means?" I stared at her for a long moment. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just realized she believed it. She genuinely thought love meant financial servitude. That night, after she left in frustration, I sat at my desk and opened the folder I had built over the last few months. Messages, receipts, screenshots of bank transfers, even a few voice recordings where they talked openly about getting him to fund the next thing. I hadn't known exactly why I was collecting them before. Now I did. The next morning, I made one call to a mutual acquaintance of ours, a man who worked with her father in some capacity. I told him, calmly, that I was considering filing a complaint if their business offers didn't stop. I didn't raise my voice or threaten anything beyond that single sentence. By the end of the day, the messages from her father had disappeared. Then came another message, this time from her mother. "We don't want trouble. Let's talk." I didn't reply. A few days later, I got a text from her. "You went too far." No, I thought. I just stopped playing their game. But karma works quietly, and I didn't have to lift another finger. Word spread about her father's businesses. A few of his friends, people I barely knew, started asking questions online about missing payments and false promises. Someone shared a few screenshots I had anonymously leaked through a burner account. It wasn't revenge for money. It was about truth. A week later, she called again, this time crying. "They're saying things about my dad that aren't true." Did you post something?" I answered honestly. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. There was silence, and then a low, resigned sigh. "You didn't have to do this." "I didn't have to fund it either," I said, and ended the call. From there, everything began to unravel. The social circle that once bragged about its wealth went quiet. The flashy photos stopped. I heard through mutuals that her father's business had drawn unwanted attention from regulators. And her mother, who used to call me son, now referred to me as that man. It wasn't about satisfaction. Watching it all fall apart didn't bring me joy. It brought me peace. The kind of peace that comes from walking away before someone empties your soul, not just your bank account. A few weeks later, she tried one last time. She sent a long message about forgiveness and second chances. She said she missed how I made her feel safe and supported. I typed out a short reply. "I hope you and your family find what you're looking for, but it won't be from me." Then I blocked her. That was it. No big fight, no shouting, just quiet closure. Months passed after I blocked her, and my life started to feel normal again. I didn't realize how much peace costs until I finally had it back. No late-night calls asking for favors. No sudden family emergencies. I started living quietly. Simple meals, morning walks, weekends spent with people who didn't expect anything from me but my time. I didn't talk about what happened much. Most of my friends didn't even know the full story. I just said, we grew apart, and left it there. But karma, as they say, has its own timing. One evening, I ran into an old acquaintance, someone who had mutual ties to her family. Over coffee, he mentioned casually, "You heard what happened to them, right?" I hadn't. Apparently, her father's little investment business finally drew serious attention. A few people who lost money reported it. There were audits and frozen accounts. Everything they had built on appearances began to collapse. I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, quietly stirring my coffee, thinking how avoidable it all could have been if greed hadn't taken the wheel. A few days later, she reached out again. New number. New tone. The message wasn't angry this time. It was small, almost defeated. I don't expect anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't answer right away. I let the message sit for a while. After a few hours, I typed back. I hope you're okay. She replied instantly. I'm not. Everything's falling apart. My dad might lose the house. My mom blames me for what happened between us. I just wish we could start over. I could almost hear the exhaustion in her words, and for a brief second, the old version of me, the one who wanted to fix things, almost resurfaced. But then I remembered what starting over used to mean. Me paying for peace that wasn't real. So I kept it short. You need to fix what's broken on your side first. She didn't reply after that. Over the next few weeks, I occasionally heard snippets about her situation. Her family's lavish lifestyle was gone. The luxury cars were sold off. The big house was mortgaged. They were moving in with relatives to figure things out. And somehow, life came full circle. The same people who once mocked me for being stingy were now learning the hard way how to live within limits. The same woman who said love meant financial security was learning that money can't buy trust or respect. Still, I didn't hate her. I just couldn't see her the same way anymore. What I once saw as charm, I now recognize as entitlement disguised as affection. A few months later, I got one final letter, handwritten. She said she'd found a small job, was renting a modest place, and was finally learning to live honestly. The letter ended with, "You were right to walk away. Thank you for doing what I couldn't." That line stuck with me. Sometimes walking away isn't punishment. It's the only lesson someone can learn from you. That night, I went for a long drive. No destination, no plan. Just open road and quiet music. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. I had my peace, my self-respect, and my money. And somewhere out there, karma had handled the rest far better than I ever could. Time has a way of dulling anger, but sharpening perspective. It's been a year since everything happened, and I've finally reached a place where I can look back without bitterness. In the beginning, I thought revenge meant payback, something dramatic, maybe even satisfying. But now I realize the most powerful revenge is quiet, living well while they drown in the mess they created. After cutting ties, I rebuilt everything slowly. I focused on small wins, clearing debt, planning trips I actually wanted, saying no without guilt. I learned that boundaries don't make you cold. They protect what's warm in you from people who only take. Every so often, I'd hear fragments of news about her family. The investigations had turned serious. Her father's business associates were testifying against him. They had lost almost everything. And oddly, they still tried to blame other people for their downfall, never themselves. That's the thing about entitlement. It never accepts accountability. But the woman I once loved? She seemed to change, or at least she was trying to. A mutual friend told me she'd cut contact with most of her family, started working again, and was living in a small rented apartment. She talks about you sometimes, my friend said. She said you were the only one who ever told her no, and she hated you for it then. Now she says it saved her. I didn't know how to feel about that. Maybe proud, maybe sad, maybe both. I never replied to her letter, but I kept it. Not because I wanted her back, but because it reminded me of the person I used to be. Too trusting, too eager to fix everyone else's problems except my own. One evening, while cleaning out old drawers, I found a photo of us, smiling at some family barbecue that I'd paid for, surrounded by people who once saw me as a walking ATM. I almost threw it away, but then I didn't. I looked at it one more time, nodded, and said quietly, "Never again." Then I tore it in half and dropped it in the trash. That moment, simple as it was, felt like real closure. The best part about walking away wasn't the money I saved, it was the peace I gained. No fake emergencies. No manipulation disguised as love. Now, I spend weekends hiking, cooking at home, or meeting friends who don't measure friendship in dollars. I've learned to listen more to people's tone than their words, to see patterns before they repeat, and to never apologize for having limits. Sometimes I think about how things could have gone if I'd stayed. Maybe I'd still be draining myself dry for people who never said, "Thank you." Perhaps I'd be miserable, but pretending I wasn't. Instead, I'm finally free. And maybe that's the real revenge, the kind that doesn't hurt anyone, but makes them face the consequences of their own greed while you move on. If she ever truly changes, I hope she finds happiness. Everyone deserves a second chance at life, just not always a second chance with the same person. Now, when I see someone struggling with similar patterns, always giving, always being used, I tell them what I wish someone had told me. Kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's a slow form of self-destruction.